Good morning. Thank you for watching again this morning and tuning in. And as we look into this, the life of Jesus, how that we have started in several weeks ago. I think this is our fourth week, and then we started looking at the life of Jesus, and because of what it says in Matthew chapter 11, when Jesus says, "Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you will find rest unto your souls." And I'm praying that being able to present this lesson will help us to find rest for my brothers and sisters in Christ and to their souls. And I also pray that there might be somebody out there that's listening, that's lost, that doesn't know Jesus, that might find this more interesting, that they might seek after Jesus and find rest for their soul, for eternity, not just for a short time, not just for a little while, but for eternity. Yesterday we talked about the life of Nicodemus, or the event of Nicodemus when he came to Jesus by night, by himself. Jesus explained it to him simple, that he must believe on the only begotten Son of God. I'm thankful today that that message is still simple and it's still truth today. It's still just as simple and right as it was the day that Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. Now, the next few days we're going to be going into the woman at the well. There's so much in this event and this where we're at here in the life of Jesus. You know, when Jesus does things, he doesn't just do them by chance. He does them with purpose. He does them with the Bible's written and given us clues of things that we can see that it just makes it so much more real. And as I've read these stories many times, and I'm going back and I'm reading them again, and I'm seeing that there's just so much that I've missed. And it's just exciting to think about all the things that's in the scriptures that we can gain information from. As we're gonna, it might take a couple days to finish this woman at the well. And for me, this is one of my top 10, I guess you would say, stories in the Bible. There's just so much here that the world needs right now. We're going to start in John chapter 4, starting with verse 1. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not but his disciples, he left Judah and departed again into Galilee. You know, I want to stop there for just a minute. And it seems like every time that they start to get on Jesus' heels, you know, he catches on to it. He knows what's going on. He knows this isn't his time to be completely persecuted. He's starting into his ministry. And it's like every time that Satan tries to get on to him, it's just like he gets that much more stronger. It's like he gets that many more disciples. And you know, that's encouraging to me, especially today. You know, as I've said in the past lessons, that we are going to be persecuted, and that's, you know, it's scary, it's exciting, but the fact of the matter is they're going to persecute us, and every time the church is persecuted in this world, it grows stronger. It gains more disciples, it gains more members, and the word gets spread that much more. So what I see happening is that they might persecute us in the future. They might make our life miserable. But as that happens, there's going to be a blessing in it as well. The church is going to grow and it's going to get stronger. It may not be in America, but it'll be somewhere. And he must needs to go through Samaria. In verse 4, then cometh he to the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. And there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. And Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away to the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, ask a drink of me, which I am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, who is who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. And the woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou the living water? Art thou greater than the father Jacob, which gave us this well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Now that's reading verses 1 through 12, and we're going to stop there today, because there's no way that I could possibly get through everything that's in this event in Jesus' life here when he meets this woman at the well. But what I want to go back to is I want us to understand the situation here. All right, for number one, the Jews looked down upon the Samaritans. The terminology that I'm going to use for this isn't to offend anybody or direct it towards anybody. It's just the nature of the situation that was going on back in those days. And the Jews looked at the Samaritans as if you will, half-breeds. They were of Jewish nature that had married into other nationalities and other bloodlines, and the Jews were so I don't mean this to be disrespectful to the Jews in those times, but high and mighty to that they thought that they had to have this pure bloodline that this Messiah was going to come from. And when you go back and you look in the scripture and you see how that Jesus set up how God set up the bloodline of Jesus, and you look back and it's amazing to me to see the impurities in it, but yet it's so perfect. Because it wasn't the seed of man, it was the seed of God that made Jesus perfect. It was through the woman, but it was the seed of God. It didn't have that sin in his nature, and that's very important for us to understand here. And that Jesus was a Jew, but he didn't look upon other people that way, and we ought not do the same. We should be looking upon people just as Jesus did. He didn't. To me, I see that Jesus looked upon people's souls. That's what was important to him. He came, Jesus said that he came not to condemn, but to save. And we know this, that he didn't come to save the body. He came to save the soul. And that today is what our people need. This world needs so much right now, is us presenting Jesus, not looking at the person, but us presenting Jesus as concerned for their soul. Because that's what's eternally going to be either in heaven or hell. And, this woman here in the world's eyes was lower than the dogs. If you just want to get right down to it, she was lower than a dog. The Jews thought that hated dogs, and they really hated the Samaritans, but Jesus didn't. And as I looked at this, and we look at the location, and I was thinking about this, and this is what the Lord had showed me a few weeks ago as I was thinking about this event in Jesus' life, that he was, it says here that he was going to Galilee. He left Judea and he was departed to go into Galilee. Well, most Jews would go like 6 or 7 miles out of the way. It may even been a longer journey than that. Go out of the way to completely miss this area. They would not go through this area because of the Samaritans. But Jesus didn't. Jesus went right through the area to make his trip shorter. And he was tired and he was weary, and he stopped there at the well at the 6th hour. Now, there's a piece of scripture in here that we got to point out. This is what the Lord women for number one get a bad rap because of Eve in the garden. If you've ever studied, people just kind of throw the blame on Eve because she took of the fruit first in the garden. She was tricked by Satan. She got relaxed enough. The commandment was that she was not to eat of the tree. Her husband told her to not even go around the tree. Don't even go near the tree. Don't even touch the tree, let alone eat it. But yet she got close enough to where she was able to, the Satan was able to get her attention, and she took of that fruit, and sin entered into her, and she gave it to Adam, and he ate, and then both their eyes were open. We kind of give them a bad rap because of that. But we see here Jesus starting out revealing his ministry. You know, I look back and I look through the scriptures, and he healed the man with the leprosy. He healed the man that had palsy, and he said, don't go tell anybody. You go to the priest and you show yourself to the priest, just as the law says, but don't tell anybody about me. Right? And we're going to see later on in this story that this is where it changes. This is where he reveals himself for who he truly is. You know, he did talk to Nicodemus here, but, you know, I think Nicodemus may have figured it out for himself, but I don't see here where Jesus actually references himself as being the Son of God. I think that it was just that just as we as individuals come to that realization between us and Jesus, by the leadership of the Holy Spirit and the conviction of our soul, I believe Nicodemus came to it in the same way. But here Jesus reveals himself specifically to this woman at the well. Now, this is Jacob's well. The land, the parcel near where that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now, if you stop and think about that for a second, Joseph is in the Old Testament is one of the best pictures of Jesus. You think about Joseph's life, and you think about how that he was rejected by his brother. He was loved by his father. He was rejected by his brothers. He was sold into slavery, just as Jesus was rejected by his family. He had no place to lay his head. Joseph had no place to call home, but yet God always provided for him. We see that Joseph was tempted by Potiphar's wife, and he did not fall to that temptation. But yet it still got him in trouble. You know, it still was rejected, and then he was thrown into prison. He interpreted the dreams, and people had forgot about him again. But yet, at the end of his life, when he was, he stayed true to the Father's will. He stayed true to God, and God blessed him for that. And to make a long story short, that Jacob and his family and his brothers were starving because there was a famine in the land, and God had set it up to where Joseph was second in Egypt, and Joseph had already made provisions for the famine that was to come. And he was the lifesaver for his family. His family would have died if it would not been for Joseph. And we look here at Jesus when he starts out his ministry. And at Jacob's well, the land that Joseph owned. Man, I mean, just think about that. This picture in the Old Testament of Joseph. Now Jesus is starting out his ministry. He's been rejected by his own people. He's fixing to go and his life's fixing to get harder. And he's going to be a lifesaver for the people. He's going to be a lifesaver, not just for a physical body, but he's going to be a lifesaver for eternity. But this is where he's starting out, telling this woman, a woman that has been rejected by the world, a woman that, as we'll find out, has some issues that even Israel had. And that's another thing that Jesus pointed out to me. There's just so much in this scriptures. And as we go into it in the next few days, that we're going to point out, if it be the Lord's will, that how that he started this ministry out with the woman here at the well, telling them, revealing to her who he was, and allowing her to go and tell the world. But we go into this land of Joseph, the Jacob's well. I've never lived in a place to where I can't fully grasp the need for a well. I've lived in houses that had wells. I've been in places where water was you had to dig down and get it. But I've never been in a place where that was my life support. This well was their only water, so they came to this well every single day at the same time, every single day, to provide for their families, to provide for themselves, to provide for the cattle, to provide for the cooking. I mean, this was life support. If they didn't have this well, they could not survive in this area. It's in the desert. It's hot. This land, we can't truly understand this except, a physical need for this well. But at the same time, we can understand it spiritually. We can understand the fact that we were in a shape of being lost. We were in a shape that there was only one way to truly have that living water that Jesus talked about. There was only one way for us to survive, and that was to trust in the well, to trust in Jesus. I can understand it spiritually, but I cannot understand it to the full extent of relying upon this one well as a physical need. But here it is that Jesus was traveling through the land. He was tired, and I don't know if I had ever noticed this, but what I found out, I noticed here that I need to point out that Jesus was there first. I just assumed that the woman was there and Jesus came up and asked for a drink. But it says that Jesus was weary, and he went to the well, and it was at the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water, and Jesus said unto her, give me a drink. Jesus was already there. Jesus is already there waiting for you. You just got to see him. See, the woman, she was so focused on her getting water. She was so focused on her task, and she may have been having a bad day. It was the hottest part of the day. She wasn't allowed to come to the well with everybody else. And now she's coming to the well by herself in the hottest part of the day. And we'll go into her life, and you'll see that she's got things that could weighing up on her, and her life hasn't been what she thought it was going to be. So she didn't even see Jesus there. Can you imagine the startleness as she walked up there and she's fixing to get water, and this Jew says, give me a drink. His disciples had gone into the city to buy meat, so he was there by himself. And another perfect example of how the salvation, that Jesus can do that relationship between you and him. He doesn't need anybody else. He didn't need his disciples. It was a one-on-one personal experience between Jesus and this woman, the Samaritan woman here at the well. And the woman here recognized him as a Jew right off the bat, and she's already looking down upon herself. And it's a shame that we as humans, and it's the nature of the beast, it's sin, have caused people to look down upon themselves because of their situation or things. And and we're all guilty. I'm guilty of it to some extent, of looking down upon somebody. And I pray that the Lord is changing me as time goes on, that I don't continue into that mindset, that I look at people and I see the importance of their soul. No matter what status they are, no matter what color they are, no matter where they live or what they're doing, that I look at their soul first, that I care about their soul first. And Jesus said unto her, if thou knowest the gift of God, who it is that saith unto him, give me a drink, thou would have asked him, and he would have given thee living water. This woman, she probably just really just confused her with this saying. And then she goes on to say, sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou a living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us this well, and drank there himself and his children and his cattle? Now, as we stop there, I want to keep, like I said, I've been trying to keep these lessons within a certain time frame, and but like I said, there's just so much into this lesson at the woman at the well that you may think it's impossible for God to help you. You may think that you've went too far, you've done too much, or wherever you're at, that Jesus wouldn't be there. But let me tell you, this woman at the well didn't understand what he was talking about. This woman was giving excuses just like we have. Well, I've done too much, and the well's too deep. You have nothing to draw with. From whence then hast thou this living water? I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll probably continue to say it throughout this lesson, that with man it is impossible, with God all things are possible. This is Jesus standing here. He made that way for us to get back to God. He made that way. He was that living water. He is that well. And as we think about these things, as we can try to close this lesson today, as we go into next week, I just want you to think about Israel, or not next week, but tomorrow, but think about Israel and all the gods and all the way that Israel went away from God. Every time that God would bless them, it's like they would get content, they would get complacent, and they would just go whoring off for other gods or having other gods to worship. We do the same thing, but they might not be idols as a physical statue, but we've put so many things in our life, other things to fulfill the emptiness or to fill that void that we have in our life. Even us as God's children, we go out and we get close to God. We go to a revival, and this is revival season. We get close to Him, and then we slip away, and we find ourselves a lot of times in the same shape, needing Jesus again to not save us, but to help us to enjoy that salvation of our soul, to help us to feel God again. And as we think about these things, it'll help you understand more about this woman here at the well. It's the hottest part of the day. Jesus was already there waiting for that woman. Jesus is there waiting for you today. You might think it's impossible because of the things that you've done. If you look at the human side of it, it is impossible, but you can't look at that. This is Jesus. This is the Son of God, and nothing is impossible for him. And if you have time, go back into Genesis and read that, just glance over that story of Joseph to see how awesome it is that Jesus is going to reveal himself to this woman, and how the life of Joseph is such a great picture of Jesus, how that Joseph was a lifesaver, and how that Jesus is a lifesaver for eternity, and how that he's got more than just food and raiment and worldly things to offer. He has something that's eternal, he is that living water. I appreciate you listening today, and I'm excited about this lesson. I hope you come back and listen tomorrow so we can finish up this event in Jesus' life, the woman at the well. Today we went through verses 1 through 12, and thank you for listening. I'm just excited about this life of Jesus, because it's the best thing that we could offer. And I'm telling you right now, is that we're in this day and time that we're in. The world needs it now more than ever. I appreciate you listening. I hope you have a great day. God bless.